It's past midnight, and the night has a way of bringing certain memories back to life. Stories people don't usually tell in the daylight. This is Midnight Monologue. I only wanted a cigarette. That's all it was. It was a little past 11 that night when I realized the pack on my desk was empty. Normally, that wouldn't be a problem. Right outside the entrance of my neighbor, there's a small roadside stall. Kind of place that sell instant noodles, snack, and cigarettes. It's kind of shop that almost never close. So, I grab my jacket and step outside. The air was cool, the street quiet, but when is the stall? The metal shutter was already pulled down. It's closed. I remember staring at it for a moment, a little annoyed. Now I had a choice. I could walk all the way around to the main road, where the larger convenience store that stay open late for 24 hours, or I could just take the shortcut behind the neighborhood. The shortcut is basically a narrow road that connects our housing complex to the old village behind it. Technically, it's only take about 5 minutes to walk through, but there's a reason most people don't use it anymore. The road has a metal gate, and every night after white o'clock, the gates get locked. It has been that way for years. Everyone who lived here long enough knew the rules. After 8 that night, do not go through that road. No one ever really explained why. Whenever someone asks, the older resident would just shrug and say the same thing. Just don't go there at night. That was it. No story, no detail, just warning. Honestly, I never took it serious. Every neighbor has that kind of weird literal looks like that. Usually they just old rumor that no one remembered the origin of. And that night, I really wanted the secret. So I walked toward the shortcut. From a distance, I could already see the metal gate standing under the dim street light. And that's when I noticed something strange. The gate wasn't locked. The chain that normally wrapped around now was hanging loose. I slowed down. It was already almost 11:30. Someone should have locked it an hour ago, or more. For a moment, I just stood there staring at it. Part of me feel like maybe I should just go around the long way. But the village shop behind the complex was only like 5 minutes away through that road. The longer route would take almost like 20-30 minutes. And at that moment, all I could think about was the cigarette I wanted. So I pushed the gate open. It made a long rusty creaking sound that echoed down the empty road. And the moment I stepped past it, something felt different. At first, I couldn't figure it out what it was. The road looked the same, trees on both sides, broken street light, dark shadows stretching across the pavement. But after a few steps, I noticed the silence. When I had been standing outside the gate, I could hear the usual nighttime sounds. Wind moving through the leaves, insects, even the faint hum of traffic from the main road somewhere far away. But the moment I walked through the gate, all of it disappeared. No wind, no insects, no distant cars, nothing. Just silence. The kind of silence that feels wrong. Like the entire place had suddenly been mute. I stop walking for a second and look around. The trees weren't moving. The leaves weren't rustling. Even the air felt still. For a brief moment, a strange thought crossed my mind, like, maybe I wasn't supposed to be here. But then I shook my head, because I might just overtaking it. All I wanted was a cigarette, nothing else. So I keep walking. A few minutes later, I reach the small village shop. They overlooked half asleep behind the counter. I bought a pack of cigarettes, sever side, and lit one immediately. The moment I did, everything felt normal again. There were crickets, a breeze moving through the trees. Somewhere in the distance, a motorcycle passed by. I remember thinking the silence earlier must just have been in my head. I finished the cigarette and start walking back toward the shortcut. But when I reached the gate again, something felt wrong. The metal gate was closed, and this time it was locked. A thick chain wrapped tightly around the bar. I stood there staring at it, confused, because I had literally just come through that road. There were no side paths, no other exits, no nothing. For a moment, I even checked the fence beside it, thinking maybe I had somehow climbed over without even realizing it. But that made no sense at all. Eventually, I just gave up and walked a long way around the main entrance of the complex. By the time I reached my house, several neighbors were standing outside. 4 or 5 of them, I guess, talking quietly. When they saw me, the conversation stopped immediately, and their expression changed. Not relief, not happiness, shock. Like they had just seen something impossible. One of them slowly walked toward me. "Where have you been?" he asked. I frowned. "What do you mean?" "I just went to buy a cigarette." No one laughed. They just stare at me. Finally, one of the elder residents spoke. His voice sounded uneasy. "You disappeared for a month." At first, I actually laughed because it sounds ridiculous. To me, I had only been gone maybe 50 minutes, 30 minutes max. Apparently, after a week off, not seeing me, people start to getting worried. I live alone, no family nearby, no one answering the door. Eventually, someone reported me missing. Even my name has been listed in the missing person report at the local police station. But even hearing all of that, I still didn't believe them. So I unlock my door and step inside. I think maybe they play around, or yeah, it's just like another bad friend. But once I step inside, something felt wrong. The air inside the house was thick and stale, like it hadn't been opened in a week. All the windows were still closed exactly the way I left them when I stepped out earlier that night. But the electricity was off. There was a fold notice slip under the door, an unpaid electricity bill. Apparently, The power had been cut a week ago. I walked slowly into the room where my computer desk was. Everything looked exactly the same, except for the slice of pizza sitting beside my keyboard. It was the last thing I'd eating before decided to go out for a cigarette. But now it was covered in gray and green mold. The plate looked done. The room smelled sour, like food that had been sitting there for weeks. Then I noticed my phone. It was still lying on the desk where I had left it before going out. The screen was completely black. When I pressed the power button, nothing happened. The battery had long since died, like it hadn't been sitting there untouched for a very long time. That's when I finally started moving. That night, after everything I saw inside the house, I just couldn't think straight anymore. The neighbors eventually went home, and I just sat there in the dark living room for a long time, still holding the pack of cigarettes that I bought, trying to remember every single step of that night, trying to understand how a 15-minute walk could erase an entire month of my life. Later that night, I sat by the window and tried to calm down. I opened a new pack of cigarettes, lit one. The smoke helped a little. It gave my mind something simple to focus on. Breathing in, breathing out. After a while, I reach into my jacket pocket. I always keep my lighter there, but when my finger touched something inside the pocket, it didn't feel like a lighter. It felt heavier, cold, metal. I pull it out and stare at it. It was a key, all rusted. The kind of key used for old gates or heavy padlocks. For a moment, I just stood there, confused, because it definitely wasn't mine. I know every key that I own, my house key, my mailbox key, my room key, even my car key. They're all attached to the same keychain, and it has been sitting alone on the table where I was leaving. This key had been sitting alone in my jacket pocket somehow. The next morning, when I went back to look at the shortcut behind the neighborhood, I noticed something that I hadn't paid attention to before. The chain on the metal gate and rusted padlock. It looked old, heavy and rusted. That kind of lock that would need a key, exactly like the one that now sitting on my hand. I didn't want to try it. I didn't even want to, because suddenly I could stop thinking about it. Like there is something. If that gate had been locked the whole night, then the real question isn't how I got through it. The real question is, who opened it for me? Suddenly, one of the older residents noticed me standing there. He walked over me quietly. Then he said something. I wish I had heard this earlier. That road doesn't just take you somewhere else. He looked at the gate. Sometimes it takes you somewhere else in time. And that's tonight's story. Just remember, Something are better left untold after midnight. Good night. I'll see you in the next midnight monologue.